Coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Welcome to another session of Questions with L.A. I've got a whole stack of questions. I'll be doing these, hopefully a lot of them this week. We'll see how far we can get. Don't be dismayed. If you've got a question, questions at lamarzulli.net. Questions at lamarzulli.net. We'll get into your questions, but first, a word from our trusted sponsor. There's a revolution happening right above our heads. It's about to make silver more precious than ever. The sun's power is taking over the world. It's growing so fast, it'll be the biggest source of electricity by the 2030s. Folks, we're talking about solar. Here's the kicker. Every single solar panel needs silver to work. We're talking about a silver paste web in every panel, turning sunlight into power. Smart investors are already making their move. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. With a silver IRA, you can surf this incredible wave of growth. It doesn't matter who sits in the White House or what Wall Street does. Solar power is unstoppable. And silver is its secret weapon. As the world goes green, your retirement could be going sterling silver. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers in 2024. Folks, visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Please remember there is always a risk with any type of an investment. There's no guarantee. But if you invest now, you may get up to 10 free brand new 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with every qualifying IRA. Folks, noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Thanks for watching, folks. Lots of stuff going on. We're shipping out mugs. You can get all 10 of our UFO films by going to streaming.lamarzulli.net. UFOs are real burgeoning and not going away. The book, Rungs of Disclosure, is coming out. Support what we do. Order a couple of the books. There's a pre-sale going on. Plus, all the copies will be autographed until we actually get the book. So right now is a pre-sale. It's $5 off. Please check it out. lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. Rungs of Disclosure. This might be the most important book I have ever penned. And I would admonish you not only to get one copy for you, one copy for a family member who needs to see this, one copy for your pastor. Folks, it's heating up. It's heating up and it's not going away. But let's get into these questions. Michigan artifacts. Ellie, I was just wondering if you've ever heard of these and what are your thoughts? Well, these are my thoughts with the Michigan artifacts. I have seen them. I would say this, that most of them are fake. In fact, I would posit that all of them are fakes. That's where I'm going. This gets into the whole Mormon deal with the Nephites or the Nephites and the Lamanites and all this stuff. And in my opinion, the Book of Mormon is what it is, with all due respect to Mormons everywhere. But the talking salamander, who does that sound like? And why is it that we get this revelation? There's really no prophecy in the Book of Mormon that we know of. I would say, with all due respect to Mormons everywhere, that you need to look at the Gospels and what they say and about Jesus. So it's a 3-hour conversation. But I believe that the Michigan artifacts that were found, and I have seen and actually handled some of them years ago, they look real, but I think they're fakes, in my opinion, and so do most modern day archaeologists. But we'll see. Okay, let's move on. This is from Josh. It is me alone, or are we all getting a feeling from the Holy Spirit that is speaking loudly in our hearts that we are about to get raptured? Something happened in 2023. A sense of readiness and closeness of the rapture started to sound in our hearts. We have always been looking for the return of the Lord, but now in a window of time like never before. We are all feeling that something big is coming. With everything that is happening in the world right now, there must be a trigger event that sets everything off. Even though the world is crazy right now, there is still a sense of normality. But a feeling of coming doom is ever present. And I believe without the shadow of a doubt that we are on the cusp of the rapture of the church. I believe that the rapture is the trigger event. We cannot go much longer with the current situation that the world is in. I am literally feeling that the rapture can take place right now. We all know it. We all feel it. We are at the end of the age of grace. It's over. Jacob's trouble is next. Get ready. Be ready at all times. Look up, and I mean literally look up. Go outside in your yard and look up to heaven, because at any moment, boom, rapture. Jesus said, behold, I come quickly. It's going to happen fast. He's coming like a thief. And this is from Josh. Let me weigh in on this, Josh. In And this is the last rung on the ladder of disclosure book. So shameless plug, and I get that. So here's something to think about. I believe that the trigger is a nuclear event that happens somewhere on the planet. When that nuclear event happens, the rapture of the church happens like this, okay? Now watch, I'm going to use some props here. Okay, let me just kind of hold this way above my head. So the rapture of the church happens. We go up, and we vanish, and they come down. Let me do it again, John. We go up, and they come down. So the reason why I believe this is there's a saying I came up with. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. I did this a number of years ago. So Mondo Gonzalez and Jeff Van Hatten got together, and they started to explore that. And they realized that when Elijah, the prophet, goes up, Elisha sees him go up. When Jesus ascends into heaven, how many people watch him ascend where? Into the clouds. When the two witnesses who are killed and their bodies lay in the streets of Jerusalem for 3 days, they are resurrected. They go up where? Into the clouds. The UFO that appeared in Fatima came where? Out of the clouds. I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel and the trump of God. The dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together to meet the Lord in the air, together in the clouds, to meet the Lord of the air. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up in the clouds, caught up together with those in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we evermore be with the Lord. There it is in the clouds once again. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. That's the last ladder in my book, The Rungs of Disclosure. Get yourself a copy. But thanks for writing in, Josh. I really appreciate it. This is from Brian. LA, good afternoon. I hope you and Peggy are doing wonderful. We are, thank you. Do you have a thought on why the apocryphal book of Enoch was seemingly sealed up until recently and kept out of the canon when the Council of Nicaea assembled? Could it be that it was too distracting to the central message of the Gospels and God didn't want us getting sidetracked? I just find it perplexing. The book of Enoch is so revelatory and helps elucidate so much of what is really going on in the book of Genesis. It seems perhaps unfortunate that it was not included, thereby lending it to so much controversy. Thank you. I tried to be pithy. Your ministry of Christ is a blessing. Thank you. Appreciate it, Brian. I love your work, and I'm going to continue to pray for you in your outreach. Brian, this is what I think. If you keep two things, remember, if you want to control the narrative of the church in America, Lyndon Johnson first did it with the 501c3. But preceding Lyndon Johnson, okay, with the 501c3 thing, which basically could put a muzzle on many pastors. So, because we're not allowed to talk about politics, supposedly, right? But I digress as usual. So the bottom line is this. If there's a group of men that want to sort of subvert the Bible on some level and keep people from really knowing what the truth is, you do two things. Number one, you never, ever teach Genesis 3:15. Because Genesis 3:15, thank you, Elder Brother Gary Stearman, for elucidating this at the Nephilim Mounds Conference years ago. Genesis 3:15, in my opinion, is the gateway to the biblical prophetic narrative. If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, where Jesus, the pre-incarnate Jesus, is in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve are absolutely terrified. They've just sided with the dragon. The shiny one, the Nakash, the serpent is there in the garden with them. Jesus says to the serpent, your seed, your offspring, will be at war and enmity with the seed, the offspring of the woman. There it is. There's the seed war. And then he continues, the seed of the woman will crush the dragon's head. That's the entire Bible. That's the entire Bible. It's the gateway to the biblical prophetic narrative. If we don't have the proper exegesis of Genesis 3:15, when we get to Genesis 6, we are clueless. The idea of the Sethite theory, which came about, I think, in the 4th century, is a complete construct. It goes against the Word of God. My mentor, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, his book, The Omega Conspiracy, just brought that into light. Doug Hamp's book, Corrupting the Image, Gary Stearman's numerous talks, Chuck Missler's numerous talks. It's a seed war. And this is the problem. If we don't get Genesis 3:15, when we get to Genesis 6, we're clueless. Oh, it's a Sethite theory. That's what they teach at seminary. And so the pastors, it's not their fault. They're not taught that. They're taught the Sethite theory. They're not taught Genesis 3:15. They're not taught about the seed war. You keep that away from the people, and they have no idea what's going on. This is why I've spent, shameless plug, we just did a 15-part lecture series with Leadership Books, which will be coming out with our Rungs of Disclosure book coming out probably in October. We'll see what happens. But I spend 25 to 30 minutes just talking about Genesis 3:15. It's that important. Why is it that Jude quotes the book of Enoch? Because you can go online and well-meaning people, oh, well, Jude, blah, blah, blah. Everyone knew it. It was widely read in the first century. That's why it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's why it's there. Everyone read it. That's why Jude can quote it. You don't quote something unless it's part of your inner circle, in your heart, in your mind. Jude knew it. That's why he's quoting from the book of Enoch. It was widely read. I believe it was widely read in the first century. Keep that away from the people. Keep that away from the pastors. It's not taught in the churches. And so you have no idea what's going on. No idea at all. But thank you for writing in. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Brian. This is from Eric. Hello, LA. Thanks for all you do, my brother. God bless. I'm glad the Lord gave me the opportunity to find you. After watching your shows and listening to you and finding out the truth, I have actually left my church. Ever since I've been going to church, they haven't been teaching none of the stuff that you talk about. And I would have been deceived if it wasn't for you telling us the truth. My question, is it okay for a Christian like myself to study on his own? My church doesn't believe or is not telling us what you have told us. If I could find people that was on the same level that I'm on and the truth that you have taught, then I could study with them. But right now I'm kind of on my own. Is that dangerous? Well, we don't go to churches in the Santa Monica Mountain area, in Malibu area. We just don't, because most of them are amillennial. There is no millennium. Most of them don't believe in the prophecies that we see unfolding before us, like what may be the Ezekiel 38:39 prophecy. Most churches don't even talk about it. So why do I want to go there? Most of these churches have no idea what the seed war is. Why do I want to spend time there? Where we go is we go to Calvary Church, Jupiter, Florida. I've spoken there twice, Pastor Dan Plord. Dan Plord goes word by word, line by line, right through the Bible, and he opens it up. It's every Sunday, it's a banquet. So Peggy and I sit in our living room and we watch Pastor Dan. Every single Sunday, we watch him. And sometimes we take notes, and it's always a banquet. It always is there. He's done his homework. He opens it up and tells, look, I've been a student of the Bible for 44 years. I always get something from Dan's sermon. Always. And I love it. So go to Calvary Church, Jupiter. Just Google that. Calvary Church, Jupiter, Pastor Dan Plord. And you're not on your own. And then when you get fellowship, try to find other people in your area like believers. I'm not telling anyone to leave their church. I want to make that really clear. I'm not telling you to leave your church, but if they're not talking about this stuff, if you're not talking about Israel and what's going on in Israel, if you're not talking about the burgeoning UFO phenomena, if they're not warning you of the coming great deception, maybe it's time to look somewhere else. I'm going to do one more, and then we will move on. And we'll close out the show. Let me turn this over this way. This is from Jessica. Hello, Mr. Marzulli. Thank you so much for all the information you share. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. I have always wondered if there are any scriptures that would explain why a loving, all-knowing God would create such entities as the devil, demons, fallen angels, when he knew there would be no chance for their redemption, and he knew what havoc they would inflict on the earth, even deceiving those made in his image. Certainly, mankind didn't need anything to tempt him to determine where his loyalties lie. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The Lord looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek God. They have all turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one. Psalm 14:3. Would the role of those evil creatures be to punish individuals in the nations that go astray? Why wouldn't God just carry out the punishments himself? Thank you for your response. Very complex question here. First of all, Jessica, we have to understand that these angels had free will. They chose to side with the dragon. They chose to side with Satan. I believe this rebellion took perhaps eons of time to actually come up to the part where there's war, where the rebellion happens and these fallen angels side with the devil. How does that work? Just like we have free will, we are not automatons. we're not. We have a choice to follow Jesus, to accept him, to bring him into our hearts and follow him or not follow him. There's a saying I came up with years ago: if you think you know him but you don't know him, then you don't know him. What I mean by that, oh yeah, Jesus, yeah, I read about that guy. If you don't know him, if you have no personal relationship with Jesus, then you don't know him. It's as simple as that. When we invite him into our hearts, it happened to me 44 years ago, and my prayer was simply this: I don't know whether you're real or not, but if you are real, come into my life and change it. I'm a sinner. Come into my life and change it. Because by that time, I mean, I'm not going to get into this whole thing. It's very personal, but it's in my testimony. I was at Woodstock. I inhaled as deeply as I could and all this other stuff that goes with it. I was a hippie. And when I came to the Lord, I was celibate for 3 years. The girlfriend I was living with in my apartment moved out about 2 weeks later. She didn't understand what was going on. She was terrified because I was being hit by all things demonic and didn't even know what was going on. Within 24 hours, I had my first 2 mentors, Wayne Kendall and Pastor Fred Nicholas. And Wayne and I worked together every single day for, I think, 2 years. Wayne has passed away. Pastor Fred has passed away. That's how quickly time goes. So it's sobering. If you don't know him and you think you know him, but you don't know him, then ask him into your heart. Just ask him. Your life will never be the same. I guarantee that. The Spirit of a living God will come in and he will change you from the inside out. That's the miracle of being born again. And you just ask. You don't need to, you can confess it publicly with baptism, but you don't need anyone to do it. You can do it right here, right now. Father, I just pray in Jesus' name that you would touch the folks who are listening, that they would accept you, ask you into their hearts and their minds, and they would be changed and they would be born from above. We thank you in Jesus' name. Folks, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Lots of stuff. Don't forget the new book, Rungs of Disclosure. It'll be coming out soon. And right now there's a $5 discount and all the copies will be autographed. Support what we do here. Buy 3 copies for those of you who can afford it. Buy 3 copies. Give one to you and your wifey. Give another one to a family member who needs to read about the coming deception. Give one to your pastor, who for the most part is so inundated with duties that he doesn't even have time to read. That's why we're doing the study course with leadership books. More about that in the coming days. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Remember to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you back again with another episode of Questions for LA. Hey folks, L.A. Marzulli here. I've got book number 14 coming out. It's being published by Charisma Media. It's called Rungs of Disclosure. Let me whet your appetite. What is it, 77 years ago, something happened in Roswell, New Mexico? Was it really a weather balloon or was it something else? Folks, one of the very first chapters in that book delves into the whole Roswell event. What I think happened there was a cover-up, and it began the deliberate obfuscation that continued until 2017. And Tucker Carlson asked Commander David Fravor, in your opinion, what was this tic-tac-shaped UFO that you saw? Commander David Fravor looks right at the camera and says, whatever this was not from this earth. That's the nexus. That's the beginning of the Rungs of Disclosure book. I think it's the most important book I've ever penned. Go to lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com. You can pre-order the book, save $5, and that book will be autographed by yours truly. Don't forget, folks, UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. In my opinion, this is the coming great deception that Jesus warns us about.